Imagine if you could quickly, easily, and effortlessly let go of your trauma triggers. Hi, welcome. I'm starting a few minutes late this morning. My apologies. Northern Living, hashtag Northern Living. I had a cow-calf moose on my street and I had to stop and take pictures as I was driving home this morning, taking my son to school. Anyways, hashtag Northern Living. There we go. So welcome. My name is Carol Serby and I am the owner of the Omineca Healing Institute, Northern British Columbia's premier institute for hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, neurolinguistic programming, energy healing, ceremony workshops, and training. So thank you so much for joining us here today. We have another episode here of what we call follow your mat. So your body is the somatic address of what's going on up here. And we're revolutionizing the way that you understand how your body is speaking to you. So today we want to talk about trauma. Now, trauma really has a huge variety of stuff kind of put inside. It's like this Pandora's box, because what affects one person with trauma won't necessarily affect another person. And trauma can come in the form of a misunderstanding of a communication from a parent, to being in the bomb shelter bombarded with bombs in a war situation. It can happen at age 0 and it can happen at age 80. And what we really need to start doing is really starting to open up and understand what trauma is, okay? And trauma basically is, we'll refer to it as abusive communication, although I want to be really careful to say that when we use the word abusive, it's not always that the abuser intended abuse, okay? It could just be as simple as a difference in personalities, okay? Again, as I was saying, one person reacts strongly one way, another person will react strongly the other way. So when we use the word abusive, again, it's a very broad way of talking about it. It's not always intentional, okay? So abusive communication and how it encodes within the nervous system, okay? Basically, that's what trauma is. Now, if you have trauma, what does trauma look like? Now, of course, we've heard of people, with PTSD, and they have most of them have obvious signs of trauma. People that have been in war type scenarios, the flashbacks, the night sweats, the terrors, all of that, again, obvious signs of trauma. But then there's some not so obvious signs. I would refer to them more as the day-to-day stuff that we deal with in our lives. And when that trauma is triggered, some people, they see their trauma as shapes. There's one I heard about specifically, and it was like a golden triangle. So it went from the mouth down to the shoulders to the throat kind of thing. And when she was being triggered and traumatized, again, not intentionally, just it was her reaction. When she was being triggered and traumatized, it was like this golden triangle was choking, right? And she couldn't get her words out and she couldn't talk, and this whole area, and she felt it like a golden triangle. So it can come in the form of shapes, okay? If you're triggered and all of a sudden you feel this shape in front of you. It can come in the form of colors, okay? Maybe you see colors, or maybe your peripheral vision goes from, way out here, and maybe it starts to narrow in and starts to focus. definitely temperature changes. And a real interesting sign of past traumas is lost memories. So if you don't have a lot of memories of your childhood, that can indicate a lot of trauma. And again, not that it was put on you purposely. It was just a matter of how your nervous system responded to something that was happening at the moment. Okay? Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. It's how your nervous system encodes it. Okay? So again, broad term trauma. Okay? So all of these things can be signs of trauma. So what do we do about it? Well, there's a couple of things that we can do, or let's talk about what are the benefits of getting rid of some of these traumas. So one of the first benefits is, sorry, I have some notes here. I had to put my glasses on because I just can't see right here. One of the biggest benefits of releasing trauma is actually regaining childhood memories. Because when we have a traumatic moment, what happens is we take the whole moment, the good and the bad, and we kind of put it in a box, right, to protect ourselves from it. And that's what we do. And it's really cool that we are able to innately do that. Like, that's our own intuitive sense that says, hey, trauma, I'm not really sure at the end of this whether I'm going to be dead or alive. So in order to protect myself, I'm going to put this in the box and I'm not going to recognize it anymore. And I'm just going to file it away and I'm going to sort it away. So when we take that box and open it back up and release some of the trauma, you'll actually start to get back a whole bunch of good memories that were filed with those bad memories. Okay? I'm going to come back to this in a minute. The other thing that can happen when we release trauma, and trauma could really, be as simple as being a year old and hearing your parents fighting. That could be trauma. And you do something as a result of that. Now, what's happened is you've created a neural pathway. When that situation happens, when you hear your parents fighting, you automatically have created this neural pathway, so your behavior is now X. And you've been doing that. So if you're 10, 20, 30, 40 years old, 50, and you haven't resolved that trauma, you're still doing that X behavior without even knowing about it. Okay? So the other thing that happens is when we start to release trauma is you're less triggered. So that X behavior, we now remove it. We don't need it anymore. So it's really cool because what happens is now you have a new choice that you can make. You have a new choice and you have a new choice point. So we don't even trigger anymore when you hear your parents fighting or anybody fighting or whatever your trauma is. You're not triggered by that anymore, so you don't have to do X anymore. When you hear people fighting, you now have a choice on how you want to deal with it. And the last really cool thing that happens when you release trauma is you actually start to release the potential for pain, illness, injury, and disease. So there's lots of people that are doing a ton of research on what we're calling psychosomatics or somatic address. So basically what's happening is there's all these repressed emotions held in this trauma. And just like that box I was talking about, we put it and store it and store it. Well, what's happening is we're finding out that very similar emotions we all store internationally. We all store in the same place. So diabetes, as an example, is usually a signal that you are not recognizing and enjoying the sweetness in your life. Now, pretty basic, simplistic explanation, but it lets you understand that there's certain emotions that are correlating with certain diseases. So it's a somatic address, the psychosomatics. So when you can start to release the triggers around not accepting the sweetness in your life, now you're starting to release the triggers of the potential of getting diabetes. Got it? Okay. That's where I come in. So through a combination of neuro reprogramming, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and energy healing, I'm actually helping people go back and release the triggers. And here's the really cool part. You don't even have to know what they are. Pretty cool. So it's way different than talk therapy, where, talk therapy, you go into the trauma and you talk about it and you talk about it and you try and desensitize yourself over it, creating more and more trauma. Okay? With the work that we do here at Omineca, you don't even have to know what it is. Okay? We trust the somatic address, the psychosomatics, and the unconscious mind to tell us what it is, to take us where we need to go, and to tell us what we need to do next. So it's super cool, super exciting, and it's breaking the industry wide open. So there's a little bit about trauma and abusive communication and some of the benefits of letting that trauma go, and just really taking yourself to that choice point of deciding how you want to act, how you want to behave, and who you want to be in this world, without having to follow these pre-programmed neural pathways that have been created by stuff that you had no control over in the first place. So let's just get rid of it all. It really is that simple, and it really is generally in less than 8 hours, people. Seriously, this is some really cool work. So anyways, if you have any questions, I'm not seeing any feeds coming up. If you have any questions, thank you so much for the thumbs up. I am seeing those. Awesome. Great. If you have any questions or love this kind of information and you want to know more, please leave a comment, share it with your friends. And if you're looking for energy healing techniques, inspiration, or wanting to understand more about how your body is speaking to you, sign up for our free monthly digest at ominecahealing.ca, ominecahealing.ca. And if you would like an opportunity to work with us here at Omineca, sign up. We have a free 30-minute clarity call. So if you're in Canada, I'll actually call you on the telephone. If you're outside of Canada, I go via Skype. So this 30-minute call, we talk about what's going on for you. I'll give you feedback. I'll give you all the resources that I have. Of course, you can ask all sorts of questions. We'll probably even do some processes on the call. It's pretty cool. And we'll just work on getting rid of the areas that you're struggling and getting rid of any blockages and get rid of any stuck memories in the unconscious. And we'll do all that for you. And I'll offer up any ideas while I'm chatting. And if I think that we're a match, then I'll present you with an offer to work with you. I also do monthly lectures and workshops, which I'm working on making them available online as a membership. So if you're interested in any of that, by all means, get in touch with us. Okay? Awesome. It's our purpose here to support you in your courage, to explore the clarity in your listening intuitively to the mastery that is already in your body, so that you can live full throttle and you can give others permission to do the same. So thank you so much for joining us here at the Omineca Healing Institute. I'm Carol Serby. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.